The galaxy had known wars before, sprawling conflicts that painted stars with fire and left planets in ruin. But no conquest had ever seemed as easy as Earth. The High Command, observing the planet from their massive warship, was confident it would fall without resistance. They scoffed at the primitive human weaponry, gunpowder projectiles, heavy machinery that couldn't hover or self-repair, and a population barely venturing into space. Earth, they believed, would be an effortless conquest. Hovering above the atmosphere, the alien commanders chuckled coldly as they prepared to deploy their first wave, eager to remind these insects what it meant to face true warriors. Sleek crafts descended from the ship, slicing through clouds as they spread over major cities. Earth's defenses scrambled as soldiers and civilians looked to the sky, terror seeping in as the dark warships descended, bristling with unknown weaponry. But not everyone flinched. Near the front lines, one man stood firm, a lone, heavy gunner. His gear weighed heavily on his broad shoulders, but his gaze remained calm, ready for war. Known only as the heavy gunner, his reputation was etched in his scars, each one a testament to battles endured. Alien ships began their assault, powerful beams scorching buildings, yet he observed with unblinking resolve, gripping his weapon, a relic by galactic standards, but deadly in his hands. As alien troops landed, they paid little mind to the humans below, confident in their superiority. The heavy gunner didn't hesitate, raising his weapon and firing with relentless precision. Aliens fell under his brutal accuracy, their shock mounting as they realized this wasn't an ordinary enemy. When they surrounded him, expecting him to tire, he only grinned a fierce, unbreakable smile. He had trained for this moment, and as more aliens advanced, each shot echoed defiantly across the battlefield. As the first wave retreated, the heavy gunner stood tall amid the wreckage, his unyielding presence a stark reminder that Earth would not be taken easily. The alien general, fuming on his command ship, sneered and ordered the advanced units, convinced they'd break this lone warrior. Elite soldiers soon appeared, shimmering into view, armed with lethal energy weapons. Undeterred, the heavy gunner continued his assault, exploiting each opening with calculated precision. These alien elites fell one by one, their coordinated tactics unraveling under his unrelenting firepower. The ground shook as he took out their artillery with a single, well-aimed shot. The aliens' confidence shattered as their mightiest weapons crumbled under his assault. Observing the field, the heavy gunner knew the aliens would return. Reinforcements soon poured in, weapons gleaming, formations flawless, determined to drown him in numbers. But he met their charge, holding his ground, each shot a testament to Earth's resistance. With each wave that fell, the invaders' arrogance gave way to desperation. In the end, their ultimate weapon, the behemoth, approached, a massive war machine meant to obliterate all resistance. The heavy gunner fought strategically, targeting weak points until he brought the behemoth down in a fiery explosion. Alien soldiers faltered, fear spreading through their ranks as their final hope lay in ruins. Even the alien general, who descended to the battlefield himself, could not best the heavy gunner. With a fierce determination, the heavy gunner fought him, each move embodying Earth's unbreakable will. In the end, the general fell, and the invading fleet, recognizing their defeat, retreated. As silence settled over the broken city, the heavy gunner stood amidst the ruins, knowing his fight had saved Earth. In that quiet aftermath, he felt a fierce pride. They had come with their armies, their advanced technology, their arrogance. But they left with a single, unspoken truth: Earth was not an easy conquest. It was a force that would endure, a place defended by those who would never yield. The battlefield lay silent, smoke and ash mingling with the morning air as the heavy gunner surveyed the remnants of the alien invasion. His eyes, steely and unwavering, traced the retreating ships as they shrank into distant specks against the sunlit sky. Around him, the crumbling city held an eerie calm, every building and scorched street bearing witness to the fierce struggle that had unfolded. As the adrenaline began to fade, the heavy gunner felt the weight of each bruise, each scar, each ounce of strength he'd poured into this fight. But he knew it wasn't over. Somewhere out in the vastness of space, those alien commanders would plot, scheme, and rebuild, driven not just by a desire for conquest, but now by the sting of humiliation. Earth had fought back, and that was something they could not ignore. Reports trickled in from across the globe. Small pockets of resistance had sprung up, inspired by the tales of the lone gunner, who had held his ground against insurmountable odds. Cities had rallied, soldiers and civilians alike had taken up arms, barricading streets, repurposing factories to build defenses, and standing ready to protect their world. The heavy gunner knew he wasn't alone in this fight. Others would rise, warriors he hadn't met, their spirits forged in the fires of a united Earth. He could see it now, the quiet determination in their eyes, the steadfast courage that no alien force could understand. As he turned from the ruins, heading back to the city center where survivors gathered and planned, he felt an unbreakable resolve settle within him. The aliens might come again, stronger, fiercer, perhaps with new weapons or twisted strategies. But he'd be ready. They all would. With each step, he left behind the echoes of war and walked into the heart of a reborn Earth, a world that had faced the brink of destruction and chosen to stand unbroken. In the days that followed, Earth buzzed with a new, resilient energy. Word of the heavy gunner's defiance had spread, igniting hope in cities and villages around the globe. Leaders convened, once separate by ideology and borders, now unified by the shared threat of extinction. From every corner of the planet, people rallied, their differences set aside as they fortified defenses, shared intelligence, and developed new strategies to combat the alien menace. The heavy gunner moved quietly through these gatherings, a silent, formidable presence that inspired as much awe as respect. He offered no grand speeches, no promises, only a steady determination that reminded everyone what was at stake. Engineers approached him to understand his weapon, retooling Earth's outdated arsenals to bolster their firepower. Scientists analyzed the alien technology left behind, attempting to reverse engineer their weapons, hoping to use the invaders' own tools against them. Then came the broadcast, distorted messages intercepted from deep space, transmissions filled with the alien language that Earth's linguists struggled to decipher. But the tone was unmistakable, threats laced with fury, a warning of vengeance from the empire that had tasted defeat. They would return, they promised, with a force the likes of which no planet had ever withstood. The heavy gunner readied himself, knowing this was no idle threat. He spent days training soldiers, teaching them tactics, preparing them for the relentless combat he knew lay ahead. He worked tirelessly, his own weapon modified with scavenged alien parts, now more lethal than ever. Earth's people watched him, and in him, they saw the embodiment of their own defiance, a reminder that, no matter the odds, they would not cower. Months passed as Earth became a fortress, each city a fortified bastion, each countryside an unyielding stronghold. Civilians trained alongside soldiers, engineers crafted new weapons, and scientists built shields against the alien beams. The planet itself had become a warrior, ready to meet the Empire's challenge. And then, just as they had anticipated, the sky darkened once more. Alien ships appeared on the horizon, blotting out the stars as they formed a massive, sprawling fleet, their numbers staggering. The heavy gunner stood at the front lines, his gaze fixed on the horizon, unyielding as ever. He tightened his grip on his weapon, feeling the familiar surge of readiness that had carried him through battle after battle. This time, Earth was not caught unprepared. As the alien fleet descended, they met with a coordinated barrage, weapons firing from fortified strongholds, missiles and energy beams streaking through the air to greet their advance. Alien ships exploded in the distance, but their numbers kept coming, relentless, filling the sky with an unending swarm. On the ground, humans braced for impact, the heavy gunner leading the charge. The first wave hit with a force that shook the Earth, yet Earth's soldiers held fast, fighting with every ounce of strength, skill, and unity they had built in the months since the initial invasion. Each battle line, each resistance point held, refusing to give even an inch. As the battle raged, the heavy gunner moved through the chaos, a figure of unyielding resolve. Alien troops met him with renewed ferocity, but he fought with a precision honed by countless skirmishes, his every shot a defiant statement against the conquerors who dared to return. In the end, it wasn't just his strength that turned the tide. It was Earth's, its unity, its resilience, its unwillingness to be subdued. Wave after wave, the alien forces faltered, their relentless advance meeting the unbreakable spirit of a planet that had decided to survive. As the dust settled and the last of the alien ships retreated, Earth's defenders stood victorious once more, battered but unbowed. The heavy gunner lowered his weapon, breathing deeply as he looked around at the faces of his comrades, each one filled with the same fierce pride that burned in his own chest. Together, they had shown the galaxy a truth that would resonate far beyond the stars. Earth was not a conquest. It was a force, and it would endure. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's people came together as never before. Cities lay in ruins, but they were more than just scarred reminders of conflict. They were symbols of resilience, of a world that had refused to fall. From the rubble rose a determination to rebuild, stronger and more united than ever. Across continents, survivors worked shoulder to shoulder, repairing broken structures, tending to the wounded, and mourning those they had lost. The heavy gunner moved through these makeshift encampments and reconstruction sites, no longer just a soldier but a figure of inspiration. Everywhere he went, people stopped to thank him, children looked up at him in awe, and veterans saluted him as one who had shown them the way to resist. Yet he stayed humble, always focused on the next task, reminding them all that the fight was far from over. He knew, as did everyone, that the Empire would not let this humiliation stand. And soon, signs of that promise became evident. Recon drones, high in orbit, detected new signals from beyond the solar system. They indicated movement, a massive fleet amassing, gathering strength for one final assault. Analysts pieced together intercepted messages, deciphering enough to understand the alien empire's resolve. This time, they would not merely send soldiers or artillery. They were preparing an armada, a strike so powerful it was meant to extinguish humanity completely. Undeterred, Earth's leaders convened once more, pooling resources, expertise, and the knowledge they had gained from each encounter. The heavy gunner joined them, his mind as sharp and strategic as any general. Together, they devised plans to fortify defenses, create traps, and deploy countermeasures. Scientists worked around the clock to harness alien technology, improving Earth's weapons and shields, crafting prototypes that could potentially rival their enemies. When the time came and the first glimmers of the alien fleet appeared on the horizon, Earth was ready. This time, every city, every mountain pass, every coastline had become a battleground fortified with defenses beyond anything humanity had wielded before. The heavy gunner took his position at the helm of the Central Defense Zone, a place that had seen the fiercest fighting during the last invasion. He knew the terrain, the weaknesses, the strategies, and he prepared his team with unwavering focus. As the fleet descended, blotting out the sky in a cascade of dark shapes, the heavy gunner looked across the lines at his fellow fighters. There were soldiers, civilians, former engineers and teachers, young and old, standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to defend their planet. He nodded once, and they nodded back, each one fortified by his presence, each one willing to fight to the end. The battle that ensued was unlike any the galaxy had seen, a fierce and desperate struggle that stretched across continents and oceans, in the air and on the ground, in every corner of the planet. Earth's defenses fought with a fierceness that took the alien generals by surprise, their technological superiority slowly chipped away by human tenacity and ingenuity. And through it all, the heavy gunner fought at the forefront, his every move a rallying cry, every shot a statement of defiance. He stood as a beacon, an indomitable force that reminded both his comrades and his enemies that Earth would not surrender. As the alien commanders realized that victory was slipping from their grasp, they poured all their strength into a final, desperate attack, sending their most elite forces to end him once and for all. Yet the heavy gunner met them head-on, unyielding and unafraid. With each alien that fell, he sent a message echoing across the battlefield. Earth was a force beyond their reckoning. This planet, its people, and its spirit could not be conquered. And finally, as the last of the alien ships retreated, the heavy gunner looked to the sky, watching their departure with a steady gaze. He knew Earth had earned its place in the galaxy, a world of warriors forged through hardship and unity. As his comrades gathered around him, the heavy gunner stood amidst the ruins, knowing that they had fought not just for survival but for the right to remain free. In that quiet moment, as Earth's defenders embraced victory, the galaxy had learned a lesson that would not be forgotten. Humanity was here to stay, steadfast and unbreakable, and no force in the universe would change that. In the days following the final retreat of the alien fleet, Earth entered a new chapter, one marked by both resilience and resolve. Rebuilding efforts took on a global scale. Governments, now unified, pooled resources, shared knowledge, and worked hand in hand with their people to restore cities, infrastructure, and lives. Fields of rubble became construction sites, shattered monuments were raised anew, and communities were reborn, stronger and more interconnected than ever. The heavy gunner remained a quiet presence amidst the rebuilding, embodying the spirit of unyielding strength that had inspired millions. His name became a legend, whispered with awe and respect as people recounted the battles, the lone stands, and the victories he had won against impossible odds. Yet he stayed grounded, offering his help wherever it was needed, not as a hero, but as a comrade among friends. As Earth's nations rose together, a new council was formed, bringing representatives from every country, each now unified by the shared cause of defending their planet. Earth was no longer just a world, it was a bastion, prepared for the unknown threats that lay beyond the stars. Scientists, engineers, and strategists worked around the clock to analyze alien technology, crafting new defenses, weapons, and propulsion systems that would enable Earth to stand as an equal to any spacefaring power. The heavy gunner became part of this council, not as a politician but as a respected advisor, a strategist who understood the importance of resilience and preparedness. His voice, calm and steady, guided their plans, reminding them that while peace was their goal, strength was their safeguard. Under his guidance, Earth prepared not only to defend itself but to explore, to reach for the stars with newfound confidence. Months turned into years, and Earth entered an age of prosperity. What had begun as an invasion had forged a planet-wide unity, a determination that spanned cultures and borders. The heavy gunner saw this transformation with quiet pride, knowing that each scarred building, each repaired bridge, and each smiling face bore testament to humanity's refusal to yield. But Earth was no longer content to be on the defensive. Research stations orbited the planet, exploration vessels launched into the unknown, and new alliances were quietly formed with other civilizations who had faced similar threats. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not as a prize to be conquered but as a respected ally, a force in its own right. Through it all, the heavy gunner continued his journey, visiting the places that had seen the fiercest battles, honoring those who had fought beside him and those who had fallen. He trained the next generation of soldiers, sharing his knowledge, his strategies, and his spirit of defiance. They listened to him with rapt attention, knowing they were learning from a man who had held back an empire. One evening, as he stood atop a rebuilt wall overlooking the bustling cityscape below, a young recruit approached him. She looked at him with a mixture of respect and curiosity, asking, "After everything, what is it that drives you to keep going?" The heavy gunner paused, considering his answer, then looked out over the city's lights. "It's simple," he replied with a slight, determined smile. "As long as Earth stands, I'll stand with it." And with those words, he turned back to the city, to the people, and to the stars that lay beyond, ready for whatever might come, steadfast in his duty to defend the world he called home. The years passed, and the story of Earth's defiance became a legend not only among its own people but throughout the galaxy. The battles and sacrifices were recorded in texts and taught to generations, serving as a testament to humanity's strength. The heavy gunner's name became synonymous with resilience, a symbol of Earth's indomitable spirit, and though many across the universe knew of him, few had ever seen him. To most, he was a figure of myth, an emblem of hope and courage. With peace taking root, Earth's focus shifted from defense to exploration. The newly formed Galactic Council welcomed Earth as a member, a rare honor bestowed only on civilizations that had proven their strength and wisdom. Earth scientists and engineers, inspired by the technology left behind from the battles, worked tirelessly to create ships capable of interstellar travel, allowing humanity to explore the stars as equals. The heavy gunner was a key advisor in these ventures, helping Earth navigate its new alliances and territories. He encouraged exploration, reminding Earth's leaders that the galaxy held both wonders and dangers beyond their imagination. Though Earth's military had grown more advanced, the heavy gunner ensured that the spirit of unity and determination remained at its core. His quiet wisdom guided Earth's space fleet, composed of soldiers, scientists, diplomats, and explorers, ready to represent their world with honor and courage. As Earth's influence expanded, so did its reputation. Civilizations that once saw Earth as a vulnerable, primitive world now respected its people. The heavy gunner himself was often requested to visit alien worlds as an ambassador of Earth's strength and resilience. Though he was a soldier at heart, he took on this role, meeting with alien leaders, learning their ways, and building alliances that would keep Earth safe and strong. One day, during a diplomatic mission to a distant star system, a small, forgotten colony requested his presence. It was a remote planet on the edge of known space, populated by a few hundred settlers who had struggled to survive after being abandoned by their own empire long ago. The colony leader explained their situation, expressing concern about alien pirates who frequently raided their supplies. They had heard stories of the heavy gunner's valor and hoped he could help them find a way to defend their home. Moved by their plight, the heavy gunner trained the colony's defenders, teaching them strategies and tactics that would help them hold their ground. He showed them how to use their limited resources to their advantage, turning their rugged terrain into a fortress. Under his guidance, the colony transformed, and for the first time, Its people felt the strength that came from unity and preparation. When the pirates returned, they met fierce resistance. Inspired by the heavy gunner's leadership, the colony's defenders fought with skill and bravery, sending the raiders fleeing. As the heavy gunner prepared to leave, the colony gathered to thank him, and their leader, with tear-filled eyes, asked him why he had helped them, a distant settlement with little to offer in return. The heavy gunner simply smiled, saying, "Because everyone deserves a chance to protect what they love." He left them with that simple truth, his legacy continuing to spread, inspiring resilience across the stars. Back on Earth, his return was celebrated, though he remained humble, preferring quiet gatherings to grand celebrations. In his later years, he trained countless recruits, ensuring Earth would always have defenders ready to stand against any threat. He watched his world grow, witnessing humanity's progress from a once isolated planet to a respected member of the galactic community. Finally, as the years wore on, the heavy gunner chose to retire from active duty. He settled in a peaceful countryside, where fields stretched under clear skies, far from the bustling cities and strategic outposts. Here, he found a measure of peace, content in knowing that Earth was safe, guarded by those who had learned from his example. And as the stars began to twinkle each night, he would look up, feeling a profound connection to the vastness above. He had once been a lone soldier fighting for survival, but now he was part of a galaxy that recognized the strength of Earth's people. He knew that, should the need arise, humanity would rise to the challenge, just as it had when he had first stood against an empire. In his heart, he carried the same unyielding resolve. The same promise he had made long ago: as long as Earth stood, he would stand with it. And though the heavy gunner's battles had come to an end, his spirit lived on a lasting force that would forever protect his world. As the heavy gunner settled into his quiet life, Earth continued to flourish, and his influence remained woven into its very fabric. Generations passed, and though few had ever witnessed his heroic deeds firsthand, his legacy became a part of every lesson, every story told to inspire courage. Statues rose in cities around the world, commemorating him not as a warrior of destruction, but as a guardian of peace and resilience, a symbol of Earth's unbreakable spirit. His teachings endured through the generations of soldiers and citizens who had trained under his guidance, forming Earth's elite defense corps, known simply as the Guardians. These Guardians carried forward his principles that courage, unity, and the will to protect one's home could overcome even the greatest of threats. They were not only Earth's defenders but also ambassadors of peace, traveling to distant worlds to offer aid, form alliances, and represent Earth's strength with humility and honor. One evening, as he gazed into the vast night sky from his peaceful home, an unexpected visitor arrived, a young cadet, newly graduated and eager to meet the legendary heavy gunner. The cadet, awed and somewhat nervous, shared stories of the Guardian's latest missions, speaking of new friendships with alien civilizations, humanitarian efforts, and the peacekeeping endeavors that had spread Earth's influence across the galaxy. Listening with a quiet smile, the heavy gunner felt a sense of profound pride. The world he had fought so fiercely to protect had grown beyond its early struggles, evolving into a symbol of hope. Earth was now a source of unity in a galaxy once divided by suspicion and conquest. The cadet asked him if he had any advice for those who looked up to him, for those who trained every day, hoping to live up to his example. After a thoughtful pause, he replied, "Remember, strength isn't just in your weapons or your training, it's in your heart, your will to protect, and your respect for all life. Stand firm in that, and you'll be ready for any challenge." Years later, on a day marked for remembrance, Earth's leaders invited him to a ceremony in his honor. But as the event unfolded, the heavy gunner quietly slipped away, returning to his favorite place beneath the stars. He watched as children in the crowd recited stories of Earth's first great defense, their voices filled with awe and determination. This next generation would carry on the legacy, fueled by the courage and unity he had ignited. Time continued its course, and eventually the day came when the heavy gunner, now much older, passed into legend. But even as he left the world he had defended so fiercely, his spirit remained. The Guardians, who had once learned from him, now trained new recruits in the same ideals. His teachings became doctrine, his actions recorded in history, and celebrated each year in festivals that brought together people from across the galaxy. And in the far reaches of space, whispers of his legacy spread, told among alien civilizations as a tale of a lone warrior who had held back an empire not with advanced technology, but with unmatched courage and unwavering resolve. Across countless star systems, they knew the story of Earth and the heavy gunner, of the people who had refused to yield, and of a world that had risen from the brink to become a force for peace and strength in the galaxy. As the years passed, the galaxy knew a lasting peace, held together by the memory of the heavy gunner's fight for survival and his vision of unity. And Earth, resilient and steadfast, stood as a beacon, a reminder that true power lay not in domination but in the enduring strength of those who choose to protect. His legacy became a guiding light, one that would endure as long as stars filled the sky. Long after the heavy gunner's time, Earth's presence in the galaxy had expanded in ways few could have imagined. The Guardians, now an interstellar peacekeeping force, traveled not only to defend but to offer aid, diplomacy, and knowledge. They carried with them the values of their world, inspired by the heavy gunner's legacy of resilience and strength. Entire academies had been founded in his name, where recruits from Earth and beyond trained side by side, learning tactics, compassion, and the art of standing firm for justice. Stories of the heavy gunner became part of the lore shared among the stars, his name a rallying cry in distant colonies where struggles arose, in settlements facing adversity, and in communities fighting to preserve their freedom. Alien worlds and their inhabitants looked to Earth as a protector, trusting the Guardians to mediate conflicts and prevent war. The galaxy was vast and diverse, but it had found unity in this shared belief in peace and strength. One day, a distress signal reached Earth's council from a planet on the edge of known space, a world besieged by a mysterious, ruthless force intent on subjugation. The Guardians prepared to respond, led by a seasoned commander who had trained all her life with the tales of the heavy gunner's courage ringing in her ears. She was determined to live up to the values he had set, values she had embraced with her entire being. As she and her team approached the war-torn planet, she addressed her crew with words they all knew well: stand firm. Remember that strength lies in your will to protect, your respect for life, and your readiness to fight for justice. That is the legacy we carry. Today, we are not just Guardians, we are Earth. With renewed resolve, the Guardians landed and began their mission, pushing back the aggressors with precision and care. The people of the besieged planet watched in awe as these defenders fought not for conquest or glory, but for peace and safety. Their movements were fluid, disciplined, a reflection of the heavy gunner's teachings, carried forward by those who had trained in his shadow. As the battle turned in their favor, the Guardians, under their commander's guidance, did not pursue the fleeing enemy, but instead helped the people of the planet rebuild, offering supplies, medical aid, and security as they restored their homes. The planet's leaders thanked the Guardians, marveling at their restraint and kindness. The commander, her voice steady with pride, replied, "We fight to protect, not to rule. We are here to honor the legacy of a man who taught us what it means to stand together." With the conflict resolved, the Guardians left the planet, their work there a testament to the heavy gunner's impact, a message of strength and hope echoing across the stars. And wherever they went, people recognized them as defenders of peace. Guided by the memory of the soldier who had once stood alone, but whose spirit had come to represent an entire world's unbreakable resolve. As the galaxy moved into a new era of cooperation and understanding, a monument was erected on Earth, dedicated to those who had fought in the first invasion. At its center stood a statue of the heavy gunner, depicted in the moment he had raised his weapon against an impossible enemy, his stance a symbol of resilience and bravery. Pilgrims from distant planets traveled to see it, sharing their own stories of struggle and survival, their voices joining in a universal song of resilience. Generations passed, and while the heavy gunner's name evolved into myth, his legacy remained. Children grew up with his story, taught to believe in the power of unity, the strength of a determined heart, and the importance of standing firm against darkness. Earth, no longer isolated or vulnerable, stood at the heart of a peaceful galaxy, a beacon for all who sought freedom and justice. In every distant corner of the galaxy, those who faced adversity, who fought to protect their homes, found strength in the story of Earth's lone warrior. And though the stars continued their endless dance across the universe, one truth remained eternal: as long as courage, unity, and the will to defend the innocent endured, the spirit of the heavy gunner would live on, lighting the way for all who dared to stand unyielding in the face of impossible odds. As the centuries turned, Earth's influence in the galaxy became a harmonious blend of leadership, diplomacy, and defense. The Guardians, bolstered by generations of skilled and dedicated recruits, continued to embody the heavy gunner's legacy. Each new member of the force trained, not only in combat, but in the values of humility, empathy, and resilience that had defined the heavy gunner's life, and ultimately Earth's role among the stars. In a distant sector on the edge of explored space, a new threat emerged, an anomaly known only as the Void Fleet. This force was different from any Earth or its allies had encountered a technologically advanced, highly intelligent enemy with the unique ability to warp space and time, seemingly appearing and disappearing at will. Word of their incursions spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and soon entire systems fell silent as they were overrun. Hearing the stories, the Guardians prepared, knowing this battle would require every skill, every bit of resolve passed down through their training. They dispatched scouting vessels, gathering intelligence on the mysterious enemy, and Earth's allies joined them, ready to fight alongside the defenders who had once come to their aid. And just as in the days of the heavy gunner, the galaxy united, systems once separated by vast distances and cultural divides now bound together by a shared resolve. In the heart of Guardian Command, an ancient artifact, stood the heavy gunner's original weapon, preserved in glass, a symbol of Earth's indomitable will. The current Guardian Commander, a direct descendant of those first defenders trained by him, gathered her team around the artifact before their departure. This weapon was once thought outdated, unfit to defend against advanced forces. But it became the tool that saved our world and united the galaxy, she said, her voice steady and determined. It wasn't the weapon that mattered, it was the courage behind it. Today we face an enemy that seems unstoppable, but remember, it's not technology that makes us strong. It's our commitment to each other, our shared purpose, and our willingness to defend those who cannot defend themselves. With renewed resolve, the Guardians and their allies embarked toward the Void Fleet's last known location. Their journey took them to the farthest reaches of known space, to a realm where stars dimmed and reality itself seemed to waver. The Void Fleet appeared as though from nowhere, a dark mass that swallowed light, its ships sleek, silent, and foreboding. The battle that followed was unlike any before it. The Void Fleet's technology allowed them to slip through traditional defenses, moving unpredictably through warped space. But Earth's forces, guided by the Guardians, adapted with the ingenuity and courage they had inherited from generations past. Through their combined efforts, they found weaknesses, discovered ways to counter the enemy's warping maneuvers, and developed coordinated tactics that turned the tide. Among the Allied fleets, the Guardians fought tirelessly, leading every charge and holding every line. The galaxy's forces, inspired by Earth's resolve, fought as one, meeting each Void assault with steadfast unity. After days of grueling conflict, the Void Fleet, overwhelmed by the unbreakable spirit of their opponents, began to falter. Finally, in a last-ditch effort to break the defense, the Void Fleet unleashed their ultimate weapon, a pulse that could destabilize entire star systems, threatening to annihilate everyone within its reach. But the Guardians, with the help of their allies, devised a plan. They would channel the pulse back toward the enemy, using the very fabric of space to trap them. In a coordinated effort, the fleets combined their power, directing the pulse back to the Void Fleet's core. The dark ships trembled, unable to withstand the massive energy rebounding upon them, and in a cataclysmic burst, the Void Fleet disintegrated, scattered into the ether. As the remnants of the enemy fleet faded, the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. Once again, Earth and its allies had faced an insurmountable threat and emerged victorious not through power alone but through unity, courage, and the legacy of resilience. Returning home, the Guardians and their allies were celebrated across the stars. Songs were written, monuments raised, and stories shared among the peoples of many worlds, all carrying forward the lessons of this newest triumph. Earth had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that darkness could be resisted, that even the most advanced technology was no match for the strength of the heart. Generations passed, and the legend of the heavy gunner, the lone soldier who had stood against an empire, continued to grow. Across the galaxy, his name became a timeless beacon of inspiration, his story a touchstone for all who valued peace, strength, and the will to protect. And as new threats arose, as the galaxy continued its cycles of peace and turmoil, one truth remained enduring and unbreakable, as long as there were those who remembered the heavy gunner's spirit, who carried forward his unyielding courage. The galaxy would stand together undaunted, undivided, and forever unbroken.